This is good. Say that again because I want your voice on this piece of prosperity.
Okay, we're rolling 20 times.
We're rolling. You're not rolling. You're sitting there on your computer and you're looking at me.
The National Cybercast Entertainment Network.
On the National Cybercast Entertainment Network.com. Now, I want you to know that's the first time I've ever used those words in a sentence. I'm not a computer guy. I'm a green room guy. That's where you are right now. You're in the green room. The green room is a hideout. It's a place where, when I'm off the road, I'm a stand-up comedian. I play all over the country. When I'm off the road, I hide out in the green room. Every television show in history, except this one, has a real dedicated green room. That's where you go and you sit and you relax before you do the TV show. You can have a cigarette. You can have a drink. They usually have a plate of goodies. You're sitting there with other stars and non-stars alike. And everybody treats you wonderfully. In the green room. Then you get out and you do the show. And when you're done, you're done. They don't talk to you anymore. They usher you out the door and you're on to your next visitation. The green room, though, is just a little bit different. Everything in here is green. There's a reason for that. In fact, it starts right here. These theater seats. They're from the Writers Guild Theater out in Los Angeles, California. About 25 years ago, I was living in Hollywood, and I had a little rooming house. Oh, there's a story I got to tell you. But we had these, an auction sale from the Writers Guild Theater, and they built a new theater, and they were selling all their stuff. So I bought these 4 green theater seats because I believe in heroes. Frank Capra, the director of It's a Wonderful Life and other wonderful, wonderful films, sat in this chair in 1944 at some celebration awards thing. Jimmy Stewart, the star of It's a Wonderful Life, sat right here. In this seat sat John Wayne. In the seat next to him was John Ford, the director of Stagecoach, John Wayne's Big Picture. Well, that's where the green thing started. I started collecting green. I don't know why. It's a good color. It's friendly. It's relaxing. It reminds me of television and all that goes into it. It's comfortable. It's warm. It's blended. And everything in here was picked up while I'm on the road doing some of my gigs. Other comedians from all over the country send me green stuff. I've got some things here in later segments. I'll tell you about them, where they came from and who sent them. But the basis of the green room is this. My name is Jim Wiggins. I'm a traveler. I'm a journeyman, sort of a storyteller, and that's why we're calling this Silly Stuff and Sad Stories. What we've got going for us right now is every time you visit, pick me up, I'll be sitting here or there or there. There'll be green all around me. You'll discover new things in the green room every time you listen to something that I've got to say. The biggest secret about this room, though, with everything being green in the room, nobody can find my pot plant. We're going to have some fun. This is just the beginning. Pick me up again on one of those clicker things that you computer people do. And I'll tell you some stories. Silly and sad. But we'll have some laughs. See you next trip. Cigarette in my hand. Let me tell you about that, though. I'm a smoker. I know a lot of people are not supposed to be smoking. I know it's not good. I went to the doctor and for my bicentennial physical, and he said, "Wiggins, you're not in bad shape for your age, but you got to quit smoking and quit drinking." And I said, "You know, I'm an American. I'm no quitter." And it was the right answer because he said, "Well, we're going to have to give you drugs." And I said, "If you have to." Now, you caught me sitting here again in the green room having a cigarette, reading the newspaper. I love reading the newspaper, man. USA did. You know, I wasn't talking into the microphone all that time.
I was hearing you.
You really?
Yeah, just picking you up.
You know why that is? Now, let me explain. It's a computer age. I'm 58 years old, and I know nothing about computers. I really don't. 7 or 8 months ago, I sent my first fax. And it worked so well, and I enjoyed it so much, I sent another one immediately. I don't know how it works. They can take something and put it into a machine that comes out. I don't even know how this works. All I know is that Nick, my right-hand guy, Nick, and Dave, and I'll introduce Dave to you at some other point, they said, just sit and talk like you do. Well, that's what I'm doing. I read the newspaper, I think about things, and I come up with what I call a little story. Now, in the old days, it probably would have made a column in a newspaper, or it might have made in fact, I did this at one point. The old Tony Tennille show, many, many years ago, I was the American Observer, and they would take me around and make little sort of like a really high Charles Kuralt. And what I noticed was they sent me out with a crew. We had 2 trucks, cables, a cable guy, a grip, a gipper, a gaffer, and a director, and a makeup, and a hairstylist, and a lunch, and I was doing 3 minutes of television. And the first show that I sent in for them, and they had given me my head, actually, the first show I sent in for them was a slice of American life that nobody else knew about. I had the camera pan around to everybody who was on location with me for 3 minutes of television. And there were like 30,000 people there, all working, all earning a wage. And the tape consisted of me saying, I don't think this show is going to last very long because we have way too much help. And it didn't. And here it is a couple of decades later, and I'm sitting here doing the same thing. Either I haven't progressed or computers have caught up with me. I have something I want to read you. Even though times are tough, we still find it difficult to resist those 3 little seductive words, affordable monthly payments. I would guess no monthly payment is truly affordable, or it probably wouldn't be owed in the first place. You with me on that? Maybe our willingness to go into debt on the installment plan simply proves our enormous faith in the future. Wouldn't it be wonderful if businessmen showed as much faith by offering a guarantee that lasted as long as the payments? Hello. The fact is, most of us buy things based on our ability to pay for them eventually. Maybe that's why the only 3 really affordable words are no money down. Here we sit in the green room, me and Nick. I'm going to move now, Nick, so we're going to not taste your basic reflexes. We're going to test your basic reflexes. Come on with me over here, over into the other section where I've got another column. And, you know, I think I moved it to the green area of the room. I'm going to try moving over that way now. Are you with me? Can you get a shot of the carpet? This is the way we walk around, walk around. All right, come back up now. I found the column. I'll even spin around. Oh, by the way, this is my puzzle place over here. I don't know about other people. You're computer people, you see. You sit down and you play the games, and you got checkerboards, and you got things going, and you got games, and I don't even know what they are because I'm really not interested. This is a puzzle, 500 pieces. It's a picture, and they cut the picture up into little pieces, and then they let me buy it, and then I come over here, and I catch a little buzz and have a sandwich, and then I try and put the puzzle back together. So far, I've been working on this one for about 7 months. Not because I can't do it, but because sometimes I just don't want to. It's like a computer. It's a green room computer. I've got other computer equipment over here, but frankly, that belongs to my son. He doesn't let me go past this line here. I'm allowed to sit in these green chairs, but I can't sit over there. Anyway, we're talking about buying stuff. I think that's what we were talking about. We were talking about a lot of things, but that's just the way it is. And if you plugged on to me, and if you haven't unplugged yet, then we're talking. I wonder if it's merely a coincidence that since we've been filling up our own tanks at America's so-called service stations, we haven't suffered a so-called gasoline shortage. Hello? I really miss the attendants, especially every 2 months when I'm forced to chisel the dirt off my own windshield. Seems since America discovered self-service, a lot of full-time jobs, they've just disappeared. And I miss the smiles they provided. A gas station guy, a friendly waitress, a helpful sales clerk. We got rid of elevator operators and our unemployment figures went up sky high. Why? Because everybody has to take care of everybody else. Back in those days, there was a real self-service. 11 million friends, neighbors, and relatives whose only full-time occupation was searching for jobs. Sure would be nice to see them smiling again. That's why the economy is what it is. Of course, no business is really entirely self-service. There's always someone there to take your money. Jim Wiggins from the Green Room. See you next trip. We're rolling again. Here we are at the Green Room. Welcome back, clickers. That's what I'm going to call you. Not clickers as in a clique of people, but a clicker people. Welcome back to the Green Room. I'm standing over here trying to decide which book to reread. I don't know about other people, but I save my books because I really like coming back to them after a year or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or even 7 or 8 or 9 or sometimes longer. I also buy books in thrift shops. Well, come on, you know I'm a thrift shop person. Look around you. Just about everything here has a story behind it. These 2 little lamp bulbs here, isn't that sharp? They're green, and they're like little lamp bulbs, but they're really salt and pepper shakers. Thrift shop. Probably Iowa someplace. Probably about $2 or $3. This is one of my prized possessions. Got this from Tom Dreesen. Remember Tom Dreesen? Yeah. Sent it to me. Empty. Him and Frank probably drank it before they died. Bottom line is, everything here's got a little bit of a story, and we'll get to that.
Hey, Tom's not dead.
You haven't seen him work lately, have you? That's Dave. You're getting to know Dave, because Dave is the producer here, and he's the guy who allows us to just turn the cameras on and start talking. Got another column for you. I think it's silly. The other day I read a statistic that is mind-boggling, to say the least. Actually, it was simply a theory, but I've discovered most folks are really impressed if you precede a statement with a percentage number. You with me? You see, if you admit a statement is based on theory, folks tend to ask silly questions, such as, where did you hear that? Or who told you that? And the smirk on their faces they ask the question is rather embarrassing also. Anyway, what I read was this. Human beings use only 10% of their brain. 10%. 8.6% to be exact. See, there's that percentage number. Now, let's assume that percentage is correct. That particular percentage is correct. That means we don't use 91.4% of our brain. That might explain why humans tend to believe that they can unclog a traffic jam by beeping their horn. Huh? There's that 90%. Think of this, however. If we're that unbright that we only use 10% of our brain, 10% of our capabilities, how can we be sure we're not only using 1%? To put that in perspective, I might be a whole lot less intelligent than I look. Sort of blows your mind, doesn't it? Yeah, that's why I collect stuff. It doesn't make any sense or rhyme or reason. I had a friend of mine, a photographer, a really cool guy, an artist. I mean, when he did a photo, it wasn't just a snapshot. Everything had to be right, the light, everything, the pose, the thing, move your face. And the first time he visited the Green Room, he wandered around inside of this thing for like an hour and a half, didn't say a word, looked at everything, picked everything up, a little thing here. Every once in a while he'd say, where's that from? Idaho. Where's that from? California. What is this? He actually picked this up and he said, what is that? Can you get a good shot of that, Nick? He looked at that and said, what is that? Kryptonite. He said, how do you know it's kryptonite? I said, well, I know you're not Superman. Bottom line is, he walked around in this thing for like an hour and a half. And at the end, I was looking for whatever he thought about the green room. Because, again, he's only using 10% of his brain. And he told me this. He said, it's like living inside of a work of art. Now, that's pretty heavy praise, especially from a guy who's not bright. Most of the praise we get from people, you know, are just as dumb as we are. So if you say something that you think is brilliant, get away with it. Because you'll never have a second opportunity. This is Jim Wiggins from the Green Room. A few silly stuff and sad stories segments. Come back and click us on. See you later. Well, then, we know we've got some time. Hey, we're back in the Green Room. You remember that? Of course you do. This is where I read the papers. Just about every morning I make a pot of coffee, have a little bowl of cereal. Bran, you know, bran is good for you. Of course, at my age, I smoke bran, and it covers two bases all at once. I like reading the newspaper. There's something about a newspaper. It doesn't give you, especially USA Today, it gives you short pieces of information, and that's what this time is, isn't it? Short pieces of information, sound bites. It's like the political elections that you see all over the news. It's all little sound bites. McCain did this, and Bush said this, and everybody's arguing about this and that, and the polls, before the election poll, after the exit polls, everything is all about polls. And I don't know one thing. I wrote a column about polls. Let me see if I can get this through to you. I wonder if ever a poll was taken to find out how many folks never pay attention to polls. It seems when political elections finally come to an end, the only surprise is discovering which of the leading pollsters came closest to predicting the wrong outcome. Now, nobody has ever asked my opinion of polls, so I don't know what to think. However, most polls claim a 5% factor for error, which proves percentages don't lie. 95% of the time, anyway. In a political election, the only percentage you can count on is simple arithmetic. Of the candidates running for office, 50% are going to win, and 50% are going to lose 100% of the time. Makes sense, doesn't it? I don't know about elections either. We don't have a woman running. Why? In all the papers, all we ever had was Libby Dole running. Of course, Hillary is doing a fine job, isn't she? What we really need is a woman president. That way we'll get our highways done. Imagine being the governor of some big state with all those orange barrels out on the highways, and what happens? You get a call from President Mom. Finish your highways. Yes, Mom. We'd be smooth sailing in no time. And Clinton, you know, I knew he was no leader. He left us alone. Why? Because he was busy. He left us alone like he should, like most presidents would. The economy goes good. He was no leader. This old man knew when he was elected he was no leader. He said he didn't inhale. Any good leader knows if you're not going to inhale, pass it on. That's leadership. I think what we're in store for in the next couple of months is a good, hard-fought Republican-Democratic election. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know who's going to win. I don't even care. I just hope whoever wins leaves us alone. America's going to do great all by itself. This is Jim Wiggins from the Green Room. Silly stuff and sad stories. We're on our way again. See you next trip. Nice, Mike.
All right, we're rolling.
We're rolling once again. Hey, clickers, welcome to the Green Room. Say hello to Jimi Hendrix. A green pillow with Jimi Hendrix on the front. Come on. I probably got that from Kipadata because he's that kind of a guy. Good to see you again. Thanks for clicking on to the network here. Back in the Green Room, thinking about things, jotting them down, writing down little columns that I hope you get a kick out of. In fact, I wanted to show you this, too. I found this. It's in green, of course. Found this in a thrift shop, I think someplace in Ohio. You get in tight on that, Nick? A father's wisdom. There's nice little pieces of information in there. I like to think that I'm a philosopher of sorts. Wrote a little piece that might make some sense. Someone, and I've come to find out that it was Charles Dudley Warner. I don't know anything else about him. He once said, "Everybody talks about the weather, but nobody does anything about it." Quote, unquote. And the plain fact is that it's out of our hands. Along with snow and sleet and slush and hail, below freezing temperatures and dead car batteries comes mankind's worst cursed complaint: chapped lips. With the exception of paying minor lip service, there's not much we can do about that either. Chapped skin is winter's way of reminding us that we can lick most anything but not Mother Nature or an iron doorknob. There's nothing we can do but keep a stiff upper lip, and don't stick out our tongues unless it's a real emergency. Cool advice. Father's Book of Wisdom. I've raised a lot of kids. We had 5 kids. In fact, we were concerned about having 5 kids. We had read somewhere that every 5th baby born in the world is Chinese, and we don't speak the language. And my oldest boy, Jimmy, is 38 or 39 years old, and him and his lady have got 10 kids already. 2 Chinese. I know you saw that coming. I tried to raise my kids. I didn't have a book like that said a Father's Book of Wisdom. So I had to kind of raise my kids based upon experience that worked for me or didn't work for me. When I was a kid, I was in reform school, which is one of the reasons that I can't run for public office, because I've been reformed. But I would try and tell my kids things that would help them to grow up and live their life and gain them eventually happiness on a day-to-day basis. I think I gave them good information. I'd say things like, try not to touch that hot stove the 3rd time. I know you're going to touch it the 1st time, and I know you're going to touch it the 2nd time, because you can't believe it was that hot the 1st time. Don't touch it a 3rd time. If you touch it a 3rd time, you're so dumb you're going to live in my basement till you're dead, and I don't want that. Now, leading into that, is this little column. And I think we make a connection there. I'm not sure. Stick with me on this, clickers. It comes as no surprise to learn almost 25% of the world's population lives in one country, China. In fact, we just did another census, I think, and there's like 6 billion people in this world. And it amazes me at how many of them don't show up in my audience, if you know what I mean. Now, the Chinese government recently completed their first census in 28 years, and it boasts a population of over 1.5 billion people, which somehow leads me to believe their favorite indoor sport is not ping pong. Now, our government, and especially our businessmen, they want us to become good, close friends with the Chinese people. However, with the amount of people they claim, I would imagine the one thing in this world they don't really need is more friends, because they're friendly enough between themselves. You know what I mean? What they really need is blinders. Hey, I'm having a good time with you people on this entertainment network, cyber.com. I just can't seem to get it together on that, Part of the reason is, and you probably suspected this, is that somewhere hidden in this green room there's a pot plant. So far I've been lucky. Nobody has discovered it. I know Drew Carey, another buddy of mine, he's got that show where he has you find visual mistakes and you can win money. Well, in the course of our relationship, while you're clicking on with me here, if you can spot the pot plant, send me a postcard and I'll invite you for a home visit to the green room, which is where I'm at, which is where I'm from, and which is what you're watching. Visit with me again. Click on anytime. Jim Wiggins from the green room. Hello, clickers. We're back here at the green room. Good to see you. It's Tuesday. Won't that jam up your computer? I got something else to show you. Picked this up in a thrift shop, I think. If I'm not, my lady was with me, Tara. We were on the road and we found this. Can you get a good shot of that, Nick? Maybe I'll move it into the light. You see it? All right. Isn't that beautiful? I put the candle in there myself because I just thought it would look good. Now listen to when I pick this thing up. How dry I am. How dry I am. Now, I don't know. I don't know if you will fully appreciate this, my fellow clickers, but that cost me like $2. And I've had more fun with that. I don't drink as much as I used to either. I told you last time about going to the doctor, and he told me to kind of cut down on my drinking. He said I could have an ounce of alcohol a day. I'm up to 2011. I don't know how I'm going to explain it to him, but yeah, and what I've been talking about lately, I just got back from Myrtle Beach. I was down there doing a week at a club down there, wonderful club. And the weather sucked. Everybody talks about Myrtle Beach, but I guess at this time and age, I was down there during hurricane season, which doesn't surprise me. And there's not that much to do, so I got to writing another column. The government recently announced an all-out war against the illegal drug traffic. Now, that particular business does like $320 billion a year. Sales, that's what they call it. It's just like a regular business, sales. And not one penny for advertising. Are we talking about a good business here? Largest cash crop in America, and nobody has any. But fortunately, we're in America, so everybody knows a guy. Now, it's a shame, but organized crime is the only industry so far to prove that supply-side economics can be profitable. I mean, even Bush didn't come up with this idea. See, human nature dictates if something is illegal, immoral, or fattening, the chances are folks are willing to pay through the nose for it. And that is a cocaine joke. And every good salesman knows selling something is the easy part. The hard part nowadays is finding a customer with cash money. Which makes me wonder, where are all those dopes getting their hands on $350 billion a year? Blows your mind. Yeah, I think pot should be legal. It'd be easier to get. That's about my only argument. The drinking stuff, no, I did cut back. I love tequila, you see. There's something about, something like a Tradicional. It's a Cuervo product, but it's really hard to get. There's something about sitting and sipping a little drink of tequila, having some silly thoughts and sad stories. But I don't drink the way I used to. That bottle, how dry I am. I was never dry. I've cut back. A couple of drinks a night, a couple of drinks a show. That seems to work. And then there are whole days, and you realize I just said there are whole days that I go without a drink. That's probably on the days that I have the sandwich.
You're on step one.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not against pot. This is part of what I say on stage, so don't take it as a joke because it's not. But I don't think the system here in America is devised properly. We put people who smoke pot in jail, and it costs $40,000 a year of your tax money to keep somebody in jail. Now, here's what I propose. When you catch someone with pot, make them smoke everything they've got, whether it's a doobie or a pound. And when they're really buzzed, you take them to the prison, but you stand them just outside the gates. Now, every once in a while, you hit the sirens, hit the lights, they're going to think they're at a concert. When they sober up, they just go right back to society and pick up and resume their lives where they were. You know, your doctor, your dentist, your banker, your policeman, the guy at the grocery store, the guy who sells you your dynamite. You know, they're all just pot smokers. And those of you people who don't smoke pot, I have got no problem with that. Believe me, I have no problem with that. You do what you want to do, but let me do what I want to do. Now, right now I'm going to say goodbye. From the green room, silly stuff and sad stories. See you next click. I've always got to pick you up when you say those magic words rolling. How do you like the penny puppy out there, clickers? By the way, welcome to the green room. Jim Wiggins here again. The penny puppy came about. I got a slot cut in its head, and all the pennies that I get when I'm traveling on the road go into the penny puppy. It's probably filled up to about here now. And my thought is, that when we get this all the way filled up, I'm going to have a party here in the green room and buy, oh, I don't know, a couple of six-packs. And then something else I do on the road. I don't know about you people, but there's something about the lure of a lotto ticket. You with me on this? $140 million. That's what the big game is up to right now, $140 million. And I figure if I bought, well, here, I wrote a column about it. You might get a kick out of this. Nah, you will get a kick out of this because you're my fellow clickers, and we're bonding. There's an easy way to become a millionaire if you're willing to take a chance. I'm not much of a gambler, but every once in a while I treat myself to an instant lottery ticket. There's always a little tingle of excitement just before I discover I've blown another dollar. It amazes me how quickly betting the numbers became respectable fun as soon as the politicians figured out a way to make it pay off for them. See, it isn't really gambling, but rather it's an amusing way to give money to the government. The only real gamble involved is wondering how foolishly the politicians will spend my losses, $1 at a time. Here's an interesting little item. I just picked this up. Another green thing. Can you get a shot on this? Just a round plastic bowl. I got this in Indianapolis. And because it was in a thrift shop, it says free on it. So now I get it back to the green room, and I'm trying to figure out what to do with a round green dish that says free on it. So I figured, okay, that's where I'll put my change. And what I've discovered is human nature. People come and visit me, and they think the change is free. Talk about a lotto ticket. I'm losing money as I sit here. And in the news the other day, too, the inflation or the interest thing is going up and down again. I guess that's the way they control inflation. I don't understand the inflation thing at all. In fact, I got a column. Nick, take a minute, just reach behind you over there on one of those green things, and he can't find it, and hand me those. Notice the zoom as I come forward. Here's one on inflation. I might as well do that one now. All right, I admit I don't fully understand inflation, but I suspect it might be described as too much money in circulation and none of it coming around my way. It sort of proves that one can live as cheaply as two, but not as long. Our government is fond of reminding us that inflation is finally down to the point where we can live with it. And the fact is, we enjoy the highest standard of living in the world. The pity is, we can't afford it. We can't afford it. So, based upon that piece of information, I've got this one about the interest rates. It seems we owe the banking industry some well-deserved credit for lowering the interest rates back to a level of respectable usury. It would be nice now if the person who writes the friendly loan advertisements was the same person who grants the loan applications. The lower cost of borrowing money will probably be reflected in a surge of new automobile loans as we rush to drive ourselves out of a recession or into inflation or monthly payments or whatever. I wonder if that's why drive-in banks were really invented, so the folks who really own America's cars could see them once in a while. Oh, before I die. Yeah, I don't know if you noticed, too. Go back to the penny puppy if you can, Nick. And I'll show you something else interesting. See this bowling ball? It's a big old green bowling ball. I use it for a pen and a knife holder. I've got a knife here in case the puppy ever gets out of control. I got this bowling ball from a guy. In fact, Dave, I think you remember him. He had a comedy room down in near Carbondale, Illinois. Carterville, I think it was called. His name was Pete, Paulie. Italian guy. Nick, it's probably in your family. And he owned this bowling alley, and he had a little comedy room. And it was a horrible gig. It was a horrible gig. The audience was young kids, and they were drunk, and then they danced afterwards. We were sort of like a buffet plate before the big meal, you know. But I had a lot of good times down there, and one time I had told the audience about the green room, and Paulie, out of the goodness of his heart, walked up to me along with my paycheck and gave me a green bowling ball and said that he would like to know that part of that comedy room that's been operating for 10, 15 years was in this green room where comedy stuff is. I was back there recently, probably as short as 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I found out that Paulie died. Didn't want to, he just died. Nice man, had a nice family. He had some loyal employees, and he gave an awful lot of comedians an awful lot of work, even though it was a horrible gig. He treated us well, he bought us drinks, and he bought us a hotel room, and we partied and we danced, and we made an awful lot of people laugh. Paulie's gone, and his balls live on. Here's to you, Paulie. See you next trip at the green room. But hey, welcome once again, clickers, to the green room. Jim Wiggins here. Another little segment of silly stuff and sad stories coming from the kitchen of the green room. I don't think you saw it before. It's the Cuervo's up there, and the bread is in the bread box. Other than that, it's all within reach. Got a column for you. I think it's pretty good. I've got to admit my favorite form of relaxation is going to the movies, watching a good old-fashioned shoot-'em-up cowboy western film with lots of cowboys and Indians arguing over real estate. I usually wind up rooting for the Indians because it's my way of showing appreciation for their invention of popcorn as a recreation food. And I don't mind telling you either, the Indians, all along, I thought they had a plan. And it turned out to be casinos. Yeah. Now, most Americans love to sit in a dark theater, entertaining our eyes, our ears, and our taste buds, and all the while cheering off our heads for the underdogs. And that's the real reason we don't enjoy the opera. There's no popcorn. They don't let you. And popcorn, when you stop to think about it, now, this is the first time, and I'm going to try and do something while I'm actually talking to you. But check this out. Talk about America. I am cutting open a plastic wrap, sliding out a package. Please notice it's green. This happens to be Orville Redelbacher's low-fat, big popping bag. And you have to learn to read the instructions. This side up. Now watch this. In 4 or 5 minutes, I'm going to have a meal. Where else but in America could you do that? And I think a lot of it is, you know, new products are coming on the market every day. This CyberNet entertainment network that we're on .com right here, you know, phew, this could be big if you people keep clicking in. And it's all about stocks, too. You see, people in cyber things and computers, they don't really make anything, but their stocks are out of reality. And I've got a column on that. The stock market is a great place to make a fortune, providing you invest in the right stock. Now listen to me, day traders. There's no such thing as a safe bet in the stock market. Every day, millions of printed stock certificates are traded between winners and losers, keepers and weepers, rich folks and other complainers. I would guess the closest thing to a sure bet would be to buy stock in a company that prints up all those millions of stock certificates each and every day. The plain fact is, any place that supports bulls and bears is no place for us chickens. Which brings me back to my meal. Sure seems to be taking a long time, doesn't it? Not like the old days when you'd sit in a movie theater. I used to go to the Times Theater in Chicago, Milwaukee, and Montrose or Lawrence. And for like 25 cents, I could get in and see cowboy movies all day long, and I saw my heroes. Roy Rogers, Gene Autry, John Wayne, the Lone Ranger. Where are they now? They're dead. Roy Rogers is stuffed in Victorville. Gene Autry ate himself to death. And if I'm not mistaken, Hopalong Cassidy is a gay drag dancer on Rush Street. I'm not sure. And I'll bet he's got plenty in the stock market. From the green room, Jim Wiggins signing off. Keep clicking on, you guys. There'll always be something of interest here in the green room, and I hope to see you again.
I'm rolling, so anytime you want to start.
Hey, we're rolling again. Welcome to the green room, but we're not in the green room right now. We're outside the green room, and I'm going to show you something that I think is surprising. Part of the reason that I built the green room is because I needed a place to hide out. But I found it because of my boy Joe. You'll meet him later. Oh, by the way, check the van. We thought that would be a good advertisement for a law firm. You're in the back of the green room building, and we're passing the garage doors. We're going through the fence onto my son's property. Now, take a look at this. You don't even have to get me in the picture. That's an old church, probably built around 1900. My boy bought it 10 years ago, and we went in and remodeled it. Now, I'm a remodeler by, in fact, we've got some guys. Check him out over here now. That's my son, Joe, on the left. Looks like a politician, doesn't he? And on the right, wave, phone guy. That's it. There's your phone money at work. Now, years back, the way I discovered part of my talents for fixing up something like the green room was a do-it-yourself project. And when we first went out to Hollywood, we bought an old burned-out whorehouse right in the middle of Hollywood, and we remodeled it into a rooming house for comedians. My son was about 13 years old at the time. So when he saw this house, this old church, he said, hey, that's got to be a house. And we decided to fix it up inside. We're going up the back steps. We'll show you the front from another direction. This porch out here, boy, when you're sitting out here in the country and there's not much to do but watch cars go by, watch the breeze. Check this out. Hello, Casey. And the vacuum cleaner is going. Isn't this lovely? We're here, Jenny. That's my daughter-in-law. Yo, Jen. We're here and we're rolling. Can you lean your head? Oh, here she comes. This is my daughter-in-law, Jenny. She's a golfer. More on that later. This is an old, huh? This is live. Hey, you got it, kid. That's the way it works. In the cyber world, the decks, just take a pan around. The decks, my boy put them all up. Jenny, everybody just built a big old house inside of a big old church. Isn't that something? Check this out. One of the few houses in America where you can play basketball inside the house. Oh, it's okay. We're doing so loose. We're doing so loose. Isn't it beautiful? And what they've done, they put this together so that they can raise their daughter, Sammy. She's about 18 months old, a sweetheart. I've never been much, even though I've got, 5 kids and a lot of grandchildren. I've never been much on hanging out with the little tykes. And this little Sammy is so cute and so adorable. She's smart and pretty and brilliant. She's in a whole new world. I'm archaic and she's not. But I'm teaching her stuff only grandpas can teach her. Example. I'm in the room. I see the granddaughter. She walks in. Here's what I do. And I'll go wide and catch me on this neck. I go, Sammy, how are you, Sammy? Sammy. Sammy. Call 911. Sammy, call 911. And she laughs and she laughs. Now here's what my son Joe informed me of. He's Pops. You're going to teach her to do that. And someday you're really going to have a stroke. And you're going to do that for Sammy, and you're going to go call 911. And she's going to laugh and laugh and laugh. So you got to be careful what you teach your kids. Is she's sleeping? Yeah, that's okay. No, that's okay. Well, this is, by the way, Johnny, this is Dave Greer. He's one of the old couple of fat guys. And this is Nick. Nick, take a shot of beautiful Jenny up there. Yeah. With a 5-iron, I imagine. Yeah, Joe and Jenny, this whole compound out here, it's all about dreams. Follow your dreams. If there's anything that this old man can tell you, when you first saw this place, it was horrible. Joe and Jenny took care of it, and they made it exactly what it is, a field of dreams. And a little girl growing up in here. There's an older girl growing up there and following her dream and doing what she wants to do. If this old man's got any information for you, it's just that. Follow the dream. See you at the green room next time. Click on. Oh, really?
Look who's up there.
Hi, you precious.
There she is.
Hi, sweetheart. How are you?
Story about you.
You ready? You ready, girl? I'll catch you on her face, Nick. You ready? Oh. Call 911. Call 911. And that, my friends, my fellow clickers, is the reason to have dreams. See you next trip. Hey, Nicholas. How's it going, young man? Yeah, like I'm just sitting here waiting for you to come in. I mean, we had this planned. You know we did. How you doing there, Nick? And you clickers. Good to have you back at the green room. You got me going. You got me thinking. Nick, why don't you make yourself comfortable over there, Nick? I found a perfect spot with which to do my homework, because that's basically what I'm doing for silly stuff and sad stories. That's it. Look at that. Look at that. You've heard of Steadicam? This is Unsteadicam. Of course, Nick was out last night. He was with my buddies Dave and Pat, and they were doing some cheap eats, and it looks like Nick washed it down with some really expensive liquor. All right, look at that. Look at that. Focus. Are we cool? All right. Good to have you back here, Green Room Clickers. Like I said, I found a happy spot for me to put my stuff together. And I know I'm not supposed to smoke. And I've been writing some, I look at the papers and I tear out a little piece of column stuff, you know, for the Green Room silly stuff and sad stories information. Men tend to keep doctors at bay. That's what it says right here. 1/3 have no regular physician. Let me explain something to you. I'm 58 years old. I don't really want to go to a doctor. If I've got a pain or if I don't feel good, I lay down. That's it. I might do a little herb and then lay down. Upset stomach, little herb. Headache, a little herb. Oh, and I'm supposed to do an aspirin a day because the doctor said that it thins my blood and I probably won't get a heart attack. He also said that I'm supposed to have an ounce of liquor a day. I think I told you about this before. I'm up to like the year 2003. I feel good. There's something nice about going to a doctor, though, and having them check you out, just to make you secure, maybe, that you're not dying immediately. Doctor that I go to, he's not a bad guy. He told me I had to give up alcohol and cigarettes, and then he gave me muscle relaxers. Let me tell you something about muscle relaxers. First of all, never having bought drugs legally, I was amazed at the quality. Second of all, it makes you deathly afraid of sneezing, because for some reason you cannot clench both ass cheeks at the same time when you're on muscle relaxers. So, in that vein, I started putting together a piece of information about my doctors. I have to find it because, as you can tell by looking around you, I'm not too well organized. Besides, this is a new spot for me. I used to write over there, but Tara's over there. We'll see Tara in a couple of minutes because she's lovely. You know, my buddy Dave, he came in here today, and he looks around the green room again, and he says, you know, this is like Pee-wee's grandpa's house, or treehouse, playhouse. This is Pee-wee's grandpa's playhouse. And part of having fun has to do with woman. You know, woman. Think about that word, woman. Whoa, womb, 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 man. Womb, man with a womb. Whoa, man. Whoa, whoa, man. Whoa, man. Breasts. Women don't understand why men love breasts so much. And it's simple. They don't talk. Very simple. Men wish, you know, there's not a man alive who doesn't wish that he had breasts. We would know what to do with breasts. We'd show them to our buddies on fishing trips. That's what we would do with breasts. We'll get there in a moment. The strangest thing, too, about going to a doctor, you have to be completely naked. And that's not always good at my age. You know, I'm getting wrinkles. I'm getting, I can't see too well. My hair is falling out. My teeth, well, that's a very expensive subject there. My back hurts all the time, even if I'm just not doing anything. My back hurts now. I should lay down. I should do some herb and lay down. But I have to continue. Oh, you know why I couldn't find it? I had it upside down. Oh, my eyes, if you notice my eyes, they're getting roomy. Not roomy like, you know, wow, is this a big room? But roomy, R-H-U-E-M-Y. And I have little bags under my eyes. I don't know why. I'm not trying to hide anything. My hearing, everybody can talk real loud. Here's part of what I hate about the gig that I've got. I do nightclubs, concerts, colleges. And afterwards, I don't hang with the people because for some reason or other, everybody wants to tell me a really lousy joke. And I've got plenty of those. So, and the din in a club is usually pretty loud, pretty, you know, people drinking, having fun, smoking, talking loud, trying to get laid, talking to each other, yelling at each other, ordering drinks. Waitresses coming, cash clinking, just noise, din. And I find that I have to speak louder, and I can't hear what other people are saying. So I'm thinking, maybe my hearing is going, maybe my eyesight is going. My brain, there are certainly things that I can't remember. I take my vitamins. I take vitamin E, vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C. I take, what's the stuff that helps you remember? You know what I'm talking about. Kava Kava. They had to name it twice because people like me couldn't remember Kava. We had to go Kava Kava. Nails? Oh, man, I've got toenails. I've got one that's that long. And hair? I've got a hair coming out my belly button that's that long. I think it's a fuse. I'm not sure. And my skin is ass skin. Let me tell you about ass skin. I used to have a tight butt. My back actually came down and it curved under, and right where it met the leg, it was 90 degrees. It just came down beautifully. And now I'm 58 years old. It comes down and goes. There's like 4 or 5 rolls of skin that don't belong there. So I figure my hair is attached to my skin, and my back is sliding off, and the weight of all that skin is actually pulling my hair down. And that's why I have so much hair on my ass now. Does that make sense? My throat, people ask me about my throat. Well, doctor found a couple of polyps in my vocal cord, and I got real scared because I thought they found Polacks on my vocal cord. And you can't get rid of Polacks. They don't even go home when you're out of beer. We know that. Farting, all the time. Belching, all the time. And my heart is good. I know I've got a good heart. I figure if I ever really if I needed like a pacemaker, I'd get a clapper. Are you with me on that? And if they're ever going to clean my pipes out, I want them to use pipe cleaners. This has gone on long enough. Nick, I'm glad to have you back. We're going to do some more talking a little later on.
Yeah.
Good to see you. And to all you green room clickers, man, come on back. See you next trip. Right late at night, which keeps Tara awake. When I was growing up, I learned about life. Nice folks never discussed politics or religion or sex in public. You know, they'd say things like, touch your privates, you'll go blind, lose your mind, grow up and own gloves. And everybody, even sweet old lovable grandma, had a hidden stash of private, personal milk chocolate. Candy Kisses, Goobers, all that kind of wonderful weight irregularity, Raisinets and bran cereal. Whoa, breakfast of sprinters. And as I get older, I learned about politics and Richard Nixon. Yeah. I learned about religion from Jimmy Swaggart. Yeah. I learned about sex from Hugh Hefner. And now he's like 108 years old and he's living with two 22-year-olds. My hero. I learned about guilt from Sister Roberta Marie Helen Gurley Brown. She beat the M&Ms out of me when she caught me putting my fingers near my 7-year-old classmate, Veronica Easy. Then I think about, you know, I do a lot of colleges and talk to the kids, and they always stare at me like I'm some sort of history lesson. And I understand that, but then they ask me, what's the secret of life? I'm 58 years old. I live in a weird way. I travel. I have Tara to take care of me. It's like having a probation officer and a lover and a nurse all in one. Yeah. The kids ask me in college, they say, hey, what's the secret, old man? What's the secret of life? I tell them, man, don't run out of air. That's the first thing. And also just try and be who you are. If you can find a way of life that fits in with the style of life you like, then you've got it pretty good, because you're all going to die. I wrote a little column piece about dying. They say right before you die, your entire life flashes before your eyes. Well, what if just the stupid shit passed by your face? You know, like you're dying, you're drowning, you're in the middle of coho season in Lake Michigan, and the Bears are losing, and you're dying, and just the stupid things just pass through your life. Wouldn't that be hell? I would guess it would be. And then I think about those other people. There are people who say, notice how I don't have my stage directions set up yet, because actually the producer, let me tell you a story. Dave Greer, you all know Dave Greer, great cat, and a producer. If there ever was a guy who found his life's dream, it's Dave Greer. You should see some of the things that he does when he's not on camera. He needs bail money constantly. Do you understand? But years back when I was just getting into the business, about 30 years ago, I could sneeze. Now, let me show you what I mean. I'll do it again. That's a fake sneeze. So I'm sitting in my basement, my wife, a couple of kids, and no real career to speak of. And I'm watching the Mike Douglas show. Back in our day, that was a popular show, variety show. And his producer, Woody Fraser, used to play jokes on Mike Douglas. And they would show him on camera, and it was delightful. And I called him up, spur of the moment, I called him up, and I said, I'd like to speak to the producer. And the guy said, why? And I said, because I can sneeze on cue. And Woody was weird enough, like Dave, to pick up the phone and say, you can sneeze on cue? Yeah, do it. Now, he's in Philadelphia. I'm in Chicago. I go into the phone. He says, I'll call you right back. He called me back in 10 minutes. They booked me on the show the next day, and my deal was that I had to tell Mike Douglas that I had found the cure for the common cold. I was a doctor, and I found the cure for the common cold. And while we're talking about it, because this is great breaking news, I start to sneeze. And that began a relationship with Mike Douglas and Woody Fraser. Woody's still around, but Dave is coming up right behind him. There's a guy who found out what he wanted to do for a living. And that's what I think I've discovered. I think I found a way that I can make a living just by sitting in the green room, writing down some stuff, and every once in a while getting together with you people and telling it to you. Who's the winner here? Thanks for clicking onto the green room, man. See you next trip. Sorry, I didn't mean to blank out on you there, but I forgot what I was going to tell you. There are people, normal people, who insist they've experienced a near death, or in fact have actually died, yet somehow miraculously they came back to life. Must have followed that bright white light I've heard so much about. And then suddenly, a yellow light. What about a red light? When I die, I hope I see a psychedelic light. Maybe some people will die and follow the disco light. They'll just dance around till they get really tired. Maybe some will die and they'll see the flashlight, or the Bud light, or the lava light, or the headlight, or the exit sign. My luck, I'm going to see a nightlight heading towards the bathroom, because I'm getting older as I sit here. I'm really saying goodbye now. Thanks for clicking on, man. See you next trip. Hey, young man. What are you doing lurking over there in the kitchen of the green room? That's Nick, cameraman extraordinaire. Welcome to the green room, you clickers, you green room clickers. Had a spell last night. I did some thinking, and at one point a thought crossed my mind, and I figured, you know, that's what minds are for. So I just started jotting down a bunch of weird thoughts, and then I started looking through some of my old notes, and I made quite a list of, I'm going to call them Nerf thoughts, because they're lightweight. Tequila must be to a man what Midol is to a woman. I think so. There seems to be no law against spinning. You know, you can be standing in a mall and just spin. They can't do a thing to you. Monogamous. The word monogamous. Mono, from the word self, or self from the word mono, and gamus, which is play, or play gamus. Monogamous, self-play, which if you're monogamous, that's probably what you do, play with oneself. Have you heard the latest JFK conspiracy? Yeah, he shot himself. Bungee jumping. Look at me. I'm way too old for bungee jumping. If I was going to bungee jump, here's what I think I would have to do. They'd have to shoot me out sideways. See, I had a spell last night. Nerf thoughts. Have you noticed nobody ever names their kid Judas? What do they ship styrofoam in? They say that we blink our eyes 25 times a minute, and a blink of an eye lasts for a fifth of a second. That means, say you're driving your car 40 miles an hour for 10 hours. Do you realize you've just driven 400 miles, 25 of which your eyes were closed? If you eat 40 times your weight in Rolaids, will you disappear? Which came first, over easy or scrambled? If you go to a psychiatrist and if you don't pay your bill, does he actually let you go crazy? McDonald's, think about this. Billions and billions and billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of hamburgers have been sold. Now that means that somebody has killed billions and billions and billions and billions of cows. And my question is, what do they do with the feet? That's a lot of cow feet, man. If you go to night school, do you have to see in the dark? Do you ever notice you go to a hospital and you pass by the recovery room and you peek in and there's never anyone there? The electric company, I swear I saw this. The electric company in my boys' area, they advertise on TV. Are you with me on this? I mean, obviously, if you don't have electricity, you don't have a TV, so you're not seeing their commercial. If there was true justice, wouldn't there be a verdict called not quite guilty? Somebody asked me if I meditate, and I said, I'll have to think about that. Ted Koppel, does he have a forehead? I travel a lot, and I get into laundromats because I have to, do my clothes. And I've noticed that, well, here's the question. Are martial arts, do they only advertise in laundromats? And why? Check that out next time you do laundry. Walgreens, is that a drugstore that sells liquor or a liquor store that sells drugs? Nerd, you know you're a nerd if you spell nerd, which is spelled N-E-R-D. You know you're a nerd if you spell it N-U-R-D. Billy Graham, I wonder if he has a medicine chest. Variety meats. Shouldn't you have a secret sauce with that? Boy, there's more, but, I'm tired now. I'm not that tired. See you next trip. Thanks for clicking on. Jim Wiggins at the Green Room. Clickers, Jim Wiggins here, Silly Stuff and Sad Stories. Welcome once again to the Green Room. Me and Tara are just sitting down here, living our lives. I've been doing some thinking, getting ready for my man Dave to come out here with the camera and do another segment of Silly Stuff and Sad Stories. Got to thinking, which is what I seem to do here. The sound of life. Right now I'm listening to a little Bad Company. Tara's here. I can actually smell her over there. Got my green stuff around me. Got my puppy, my chair, my little green world. And green, I think I told you before, seems to be the color of growth. 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 Th. The sound of life. Did you ever put your ear to a pregnant woman's belly? You can actually hear it. When you breathe. The sound of life. Do that with me. See, life doesn't suck. Life blows. Now, biblically speaking, which is represented by the letters BS, lispers were God's chosen people. Yeah. It says in the Bible the sound of life was spelled E-T-H. E-T-H, as in eateth, smoketh, snorteth, drinketh, partieth. Ruth, Beth, atheists, them, they said. That's where that word came from. They said. Others, other world, otherworldly. Biblically speaking, life in those days required a lot of faith. 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 So I put together a story. Oh, family. Think about this. Think about this. Family. Mother, father, brother, sister. They're a pain in the ass. They've got no TH. Youth. 13. That's the time that you become an adult. If you go to church, there's Catholics and Methodists and Lutherans. There's Orthodox. There's Seventh-day Adventists. It's all about theology, which is different from theory, which is different from hypotheses. Hypotheses is when you have a theory and you're really very high. Atheists, heathens, thieves, thugs, brethren. They, thee, thou, brothel, thorns, thrones, wrath, authors in the Bible. Mathematicians, arithmetic, soothsayers. Pathology, arthritis, asthma, catheter tube, ow, hyperthermia, thermostat, thrombosis, thrombone, thyroid, lethal, warmth, wither away, to be thin, euthanasia, euthanasia, death, therapy, requires wealth, orthopedic. I have no idea where we're going with this. The animals, the first birds were thrushes, and then there were mammoths and panthers and moths. There are heath bars and thuringer and broth, and if you're thirsty, there's vermouth, and you can carry it in a thermos, and you can thaw out with menthol and withdrawal, and then there's pothead. Ethiopia, Duluth, North America, South America, Netherlands, Third World, Gotham, Tollbooth, Birth, Thailand, 3 Mile Island, Thespians, Othello, mirth, pathos, truth, myth. And myth, you know, truth is truth, but you can just myth it. In a marathon. Zenith TV, zither, hither, thither, and yon. You know, this list goes on and on and on and on and on and on. What I ought to do, I guess, is really put some time into this and come up with a story. That's what I'll do. Next time we get together, I'll have a story ready. I'll be wearing a thong. How's that? Did I tell you about that, by the way? I was out in Las Vegas. Woody, did I mention this before? I got busted at the pool out at Las Vegas. I was playing at the Riviera. I got busted at the pool by security because I was wearing a thong bathing suit. And apparently there's a front and a back to those. This is Jim Wiggins at the Green Room. Some silly stuff and sad stories. See you next trip. Thanks. Hello, Green Room clickers. Jim Wiggins here with silly stuff and sad stories. I'm going to tell you a story tonight. It's a my story, not a his story, not a her story. It's a my story. It takes place way back at the very beginning of time, way back when the world's very first quartz crystal watch was just beginning to form. Long before radio, before TV, before AM and PM and AM and FM and AC and DC, and BC and AD, before PU, before IUD or ET or FBI or NBC or ABC or CNN or BUD or BLT or DDT or CIA or ROTC, NAACP, AT&T, IBM, before they became words. Way back then, there was no letter S. Now you might say, Jim, BS. And you'd be correct. Before the letter S was indeed BS. Now, it's a little-known fact that woman invented the alphabet so she could send her man to the store with a written note. In the days of BS, everything was BS, basically simple. There was no supper, no soup, no salad, no spaghetti, no shrimp, no sausage, no steak, no spinach, no sauerkraut. There were no sandwiches. How could there be? There was no salami, no Swiss cheese, no cheap or expensive spread. Oh, there was peanut butter, but it wasn't the smooth kind. Before the letter S, there was no silly stuff like Slurpees and stucco, and no styrofoam, no saran wrap, no soda straws or strawberry sundaes or Saturdays for that matter. Every day was Monday, and you know what a drag Mondays are. They sucked even back then. On the other hand, there was no stupid stuff. No seersucker suits, no smelly socks, no swear words, and no substitutes. If you hurt yourself, you couldn't even say, no shucks. No shit. No cities, no suburbs, no subdivisions, no service stations, no shopping centers. Everyone lived in caves. There was no Sears stores. There was nothing, because Sears has everything. Before the letter S, there was no number 6 or number 7. In the days of BS, everyone had 12 toes, I suppose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the right foot, and 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 on the left foot. That's why it's called the other foot. If you had 2 left feet, you had 24 toes. No wonder you were a lousy dancer. Before the letter S, there were no sports. Oh, there were hobbies. There was hunting, fishing, and boating, which was just an excuse to go drinking beer. The people just used to squat around, playing cards, gambling, talking about politics, mass debating. Before the letter S, there wasn't a real status symbol for athletes. The dollar sign. You see, millions and millions and billions and billions and trillions of dollars ago, a bunch of politicians were hanging around this very plush yet dark, damp, drab, dreary, dingy cave doing diddly. And that's how we know they were politicians. When a bunch of guys sit around doing nothing, we just figure they're in politics. And suddenly, through the entrance to the cave hole, burst a senator, excited, out of breath, waving in his hand the first bill ever to enter the Senate. And the senators became quite interested. It was the very first dollar bill, the original money, the root of all joy. Where did it come from? No one knows for sure where money comes from. The senator swore he found the money, but as we know, nowhere in history is there any proof that a senator finds money. Somehow, miraculously, money always seems to find them. It's the curse the senators must live with, the curse of found money. Well, seeing it all as all these senators were politicians first and foremost, they decided to do something worthwhile with the newfound money. But being in politics, no senator had any idea how to put money to good use. So they didn't even try. They simply decided to keep the money for themselves. So they sat around in a circle, and maybe the very first sewing circle, saying, so, what should we do? What should we do with the money? Orators, they debated. Let's have a political party. Hey, well, let's get more money. Let's get some booze and broads and brag that we know the governor personally. So they took a vote. They also took the senator's dollar bill. And that's when they discovered they couldn't trust each other. That's why they sat around in a circle, so they couldn't turn their backs on each other. If one senator left the cave, when he returned, his money was in another senator's pile. Ripley's first, very, very first, believe it or not, they called it a contribution to a political party, and they deemed it deductible. Now, soon after the politicians had found all the money in the world, so much that their little piles became huge piles, they lived like that for years, each watching their little piles of money, afraid to leave, becoming incumbent, guarding their money. One day, a very bright young senator from Massachusetts invented a method of keeping money on your person. He invented pockets. And the Senate voted to fund the pockets, and they began to stuff money into their pockets so fast and so furiously that sparks began to fly, and mankind had fire. And politicians have been burning us ever since. Pockets, Senate, money, pockets, Senate, money. The original Bermuda Triangle. Once money goes into a politician's pockets, it's never seen or heard from again. And once all the senators were rich and powerful, they knew the world wasn't flat or round. They knew it was slightly crooked. Even globes don't sit on the level. Big balls. Before the letter S, there was no Senate. No secret slush funds, no scam, no spoils, no shafting, no snow jobs, no shenanigans, no subterfuge, no slogans, no slander. Just a bunch of sneaky, slick, slimy, sleazy, selfish, shrewd, swindling, shifty-eyed sandbaggers. Stuff and style and substance, none. BSers, big shots, boring speakers, bloodsuckers, big spenders, big sneaks, bullshooters. Now, speaking of getting burnt, how we doing on time, by the way, Dave? 7? You got time. You got nowhere to go. You're sitting at your computer watching this. Come on. You're not busy. Now, speaking of getting, and I know it's a little boring. I see Dave's camera every once in a while just waving off. Don't worry. Dave was up late. Now, there was one particularly greedy group of semi-politicians who schemed constantly on how to become rich and powerful. But they were a little too seedy to succeed in politics, and they didn't have any other worthwhile skills or talents either. But they knew how to make a highball. So they hung out in dens of, in something. There's a word here that makes no sense. Inequity. Inequity? Not right. Leaning over the bar, so to speak. Soon they knew everything and everybody knew them. They had powerful connections. For the right price, the right fee, they promised they could get things done by hook or by crook. And they called themselves lawbreakers, lawmakers. Later on in history, they would change it to lawyers. And nowadays, they call themselves by their legal and proper name, criminal attorneys. Contrary to popular opinion, criminal attorneys didn't invent crime. They simply perfected it and made it more profitable. Lying, lawsuits, and whiplash. You should have seen the early lawsuits. Polyester and pockets. Whoa, politicians invented pockets, and lawyers brought it to an art form. Pockets in the pants, front, back, side pockets, jacket pockets for left hand, right hand, inside, outside, top, bottom, breast, shirt pocket, vest pocket, watch pocket. They even wore legal briefs. That was for their small change. And lawyers filled their pockets with so much money, pocket money, that they had to invent wallets. And soon they were stuffed. The lawyers had to invent luggage to carry their money, suitcases. And to this day, when you open a suitcase, what do you see? Pockets. Pockets in the top, pockets in the bottom, pockets inside of pockets, secret pockets. And they still make money the old-fashioned way. They sue you for it. And the law has become quite a practice. And that's why criminal attorneys keep getting richer, 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 because they practice, practice, practice. They're not good at it yet. How do we know that? Because some of us have still got a few dollars left. That's the story. You might say it's BS. I might say it's BS. You didn't hear a word I said, did you? Jim Wiggins here at the Green Room. See you next click. Hello, clickers. Jim Wiggins at the Green Room. Silly stuff and sad stories. And I've got the feeling that today is a poetry day. Life is a poem. Sleep is poetic. Everybody seems to write poetry. I heard something, I'm sure it was a talk show, that said that like 68% of the population in America writes poetry, secret poetry that nobody ever hears. Wonder why that is. Are we ashamed of it at times? Things we don't want people to know about us or our past or our future or our dreams. Poetry should be fun. Poetry slams are all the big rave nowadays, I guess. And I dug up some of my old poetry to see if I would qualify for a slam. They call me short, small, little, tiny, but I'm not. I'm really very tall to someone 2'9". I fit very nicely in a foreign car, thank you. And no one ever says, would you get out of that comfortable position and reach that for me? And if we line up according to size, I'd be first in line. And when I hug someone soft and loving, more of her touches me. I don't mind not being tall. I'm just glad I'm here. That's all. A love poem. We love to make love, she and I. We talk silly talk, we pinch and poke, and every so often we laugh at a joke. We hug and kiss, we excite and thrill, And every so often, we each take our fill. We love to make love, she and I. We mumble and moan, we grab and feel, and every so often, we lay head to heel. We sleep, we dream, we take a rest, and every so often, we know we're the best. We love to make love, she and I. Here's my latest endeavor. Hope it makes sense. Early morning coffee with a trusted late-night friend, anticipating sunrise, pray the dark will finally end. A scent of last night's dinner hanging round the kitchen walls. This breakfast the result of all those lonely distance calls. The sparkling window pane reflects a blooming lovely rose. The casualness and comfort felt like cotton underclothes. Conversation over easy, now the future, now the past. Memories revisited, 10 years went by so fast. Two songs of fate, more good than bad. Great laughter and sad tears. Two good friends now seem to be the sum of all their years. They grew together years ago, ignited secret fire. They understood their lucky lives, no compromise for hire. He had a woman in his heart, she danced from dark to light. He lost her in a hurricane, she flew higher in the night. In olden days, the devil paid, his dreams would all come true. He traveled lonely in his world of laughs, regrets, so few. She met a man who played her notes. She married him one day. Along the journey to the stars, he went up there to play. In younger days, her vocals soared. Her style was loud and wild. She set aside a pot of luck to be the mother of her child. A feeling of contentment surrounds the gazing pair, settled at the table in the wooden country chair. Quiet stories of kids and stuff, of loves both lost and found. Wise agreement, life is good. It grows from fertile ground. Friends and lovers here and gone, the roster grows much shorter. Musicians play the music, and the songs were made to order. Two friendly souled survivors, true hearts formed by helping hands. The widow and the widower sit calmly listening to the bands. Hope you had a good time. Jim Wiggins at the Green Room. Silly stuff and sad stories. See you next trip. Hello, clickers. It's a rainy day. I don't know if you can see out the window. We probably got it closed up a little bit to compensate for the dull gray light coming in through the window. Just sitting here reminiscing nostalgia as I'm wont to do. I don't know if you can see these, but I got me a little van right here. It's an ambulance-type van. There's an old-time car, green, of course, and a Jeep, a plastic Jeep from the 1940s. Got it in a thrift shop. Probably cost about, well, it says right on there, $2. $2 for that little plastic thing. It's all about nostalgia. Speaking about nostalgia, I remember back in the 60s when a couple of old hippies came up with a great idea to take a Volkswagen van. Now, I don't know if you can remember those. Some of you were too young. But it was like a box, just a boxy little box on wheels. And they discovered that you could really, and they were German-made, by the way, Volkswagen, and this was in the 60s. And if you really wanted to be a liberal, if you really wanted to go against the grain, what you did was you dropped out of college and you bought a Volkswagen van so that you could piss off all your uncles that were in the Second World War fighting the Germans. You know, it was just something about that get under the skin thing. And the vans were, I think the hippies actually invented this. They put beads on the inside of the van, and cushions, and ashtrays, and a radio, and that was about it. They were simple affairs. Got a lot of miles to the gallon, engine in the back, and between you and the outside world, between your knees and the next car in front of you, was a very thin piece of steel. But that was the way to live. You could cruise and live in it, and you didn't have to do anything. You could pull up at a lake and jump out and go swimming. You could go to a rock concert and just enjoy living in your little van on wheels. The hippies knew a good thing when they saw it. But, in fact, we had an old van. Way back in the early 60s, I was recently married. We had this old van, a Ford. And I think by the time we were done with it, I'm sure we put on probably 750,000 miles. In the early 70s, me and the family moved to California from Chicago, Illinois to Hollywood, California. And going across the country, we took the van because by this time it was a part of the family. You know, we could leave the dog and the fish and the birds, but we had to take the van because that was family. So we had a man, a woman, and 5 kids in a van from Chicago, Illinois to Hollywood, California. I understand now birth control, and I understand road rage, all inside of one vehicle. The van was a very important part of that whole journey. It gave us comfort. It gave us protection from the weather. It was pretty economical to run. And it made us all learn to love each other because there's about 4 square feet in there when you figure in the clothing. And as we're going across the country, I was, pondering, I guess is the word, on the early pioneers. In a wagon, a canvas-covered wagon with horses pulling it. I mean, you're, a couple of 1,000 miles of looking at a horse's ass. You got to want to get somewhere to have that for an inspiration. They had no heat in them. They had no radio, no electricity, no lights, no battery. They had no spare. There was nothing. People and a horse pulling you across the country. No gas stations, no motels, no franchised restaurants. There was just barren land, no roads. You just decided to head someplace and go. Well, we did it a lot easier than that. We did it with that old family van. Made it there in a couple of weeks. Saw a lot of wonderful sights along the way. And the van, indeed, held up to its task. Everybody's got vans now. It's the in thing to do if you're a young suburbanite Republican Christian and you don't have a van, well, there's something wrong with you. They've become okay to have now. It's become a different kind of a lifestyle. I think I miss the old vans. These vans nowadays, listen to this, they've got something called North Star, or North Star, or North Star. And what it is, boy, in the hippie days, we could have used that. Because, you'd get a little high and drive around. You didn't know where you were going, or how fast you weren't getting there. But in the vans of today, they've got computers, they've got televisions, telephones, fax machines, modems, chairs, beds, bunks, ovens, ranges, toilets. They've got everything in there, including North Star. And what that is, you're someplace, all right? And you're not sure where you are. You're someplace, but you don't know exactly where, 2 blocks away is. So you take this expensive $1,000 million computer thing and you press in a button, and North Star calls you back and tells you that there's gas 2 blocks up. There's even an ad on television now where Batman uses this to find out where he can get some diesel fuel or something, bat fuel, I guess. Isn't that called guava? Something like that. But it's all about computers. And here's what I've noticed about my old van and the vans of today. There's just no character. It's all about sensors. They have a sensor now that tells you what the machine is supposed to do, the engine or the block or the temperature or the oil pressure or the gas or the door locks or something. It's all about sensors. There's a sensor to tell you when a sensor is sensitive. That's the age we're in. And all sensors are by nature expensive. Expensive. Well, that's the way it is. I kind of miss my old van. My lady and I now have got a van. We travel quite extensively, going to clubs, doing our gigs all the way across the country. And we have fun with our van. We were coming back from, I think, St. Louis or something, and one of us got in the back and got naked. I won't tell you which one. We stop at truck stops, and we jump out, and we've got this big old chalk that you use for sidewalk chalk. And we lay down and draw outlines so that the people who come over there might think it was a murder scene, because rest stops are not safe. They're safe if you just go in and pee and run right out again, but don't hang around there. Truck drivers, all kinds of weird itinerant comedians. Just a very dangerous place to be. Well, I think I've run out of things to tell you about vans, except in 81, we decided, me and my wife and 3 of our 5 kids decided to go from California all the way to the White House. Now, we had 3 of our 5 kids because we were actually trying to get rid of the other 2. And we used that old van again to go all the way across to see the president. I think I was going to tell you about this on one of the other shows. Boy, we had a good time. Just going across 25 states, 155 cities. We met governors, we met mayors, we met all kinds of fancy politicians, and a lot of the fringe element, you know, the liberals like I am. We'd stop at a truck stop and sit down and talk to the truck drivers and the other people with vans on the highways. And we would discuss what was happening in the country in 1981. We got to the White House to see the president. You know, that's a whole other story. How about if I tell you that next time? Thanks for clicking in. Jim Wiggins from the Green Room. See you next trip. How are you? Welcome to Silly Stuff and Sad Stories. I'm Jim Wiggins, and we're sitting around the Green Room doing some stuff. You know what I've noticed, too? Looking into the camera and seeing you people out there is one thing. But my camera guy, who I'm going to call Camera Guy, he's looking at me through a thing over here that's got a vision thing on it, and he's got one eye closed so he can see through it, and I really want to look at that closed eye. Do you know what I'm saying? Just a piece of curiosity. See, I'm getting older and wiser. Not smarter. I've been smarter for a long time, but I'm starting to really get wiser. Let me give you an example. See this air conditioner over here? Can you pull in on that, Camera Guy? That's a 5,000 BTU air conditioner. Probably weighs about 50 or 60 pounds. Now, here in the Green Room, that air conditioner has to come in from that opening at the beginning of the cold season, because as you can see, we've got nothing but space over here, and the wind comes in from the west, and it blows in here. It's really, 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 really cold. I can hang meat in front of that spot during the winter. So I have a piece of board that I use to cover up the opening, and the air conditioner goes in the storage room. I've never showed you the storage room, have I? Camera Guy, come on with me for a minute. Come on right over here. I'll leave my pointer over here. This is, we're walking around the Green Room now over to the area called the storage room. Now, the storage room is exactly what the name implies. It's a storage room. See here, I've got puzzles, because I have pot, blankets, pillows. I've got an old car seat in here from the van. You know about the van. Humidifier, an Indian blanket just in case, my laundry. And this is probably one of my finest possessions. That's a big old antique green card table. It's about 5 feet around. It seats 8. Now, here's what I mean by getting smarter and wiser. I used to have to carry that air conditioner from here over to the window. And then I got smarter and wiser. I called up my boys, Joe and Josh. I told you about them. And I said, come on, let's go play some cards. We'll smoke some cigarettes and we'll drink some beer and we'll pretend we're all real buddies. So I brought him over here and I said, hey, go to the storage room and pull out the table and set it up. And they did. And I said, while you're in there, why don't you grab that air conditioner and put it in the window for me? Not only did I get the air conditioner in, but I played some cards, I took their money, and I had a good time. I also gave them some good information. I don't know if I ever got good information from my dad. Never talked about my dad much. In fact, I've got a picture of him. Let me show you a picture of him. Follow me, camera guy. We're going into the bathroom. Now, this is the bathroom. And this is a picture of my dad. I don't know if you can see that good. That's Freddie driving a beer truck. You got me? Blatt's beer truck from the 1930s and 40s. And I put my dad over at the toilet. That was my camera guy bumping into the door. I put my dad over the toilet because that's where all the beer would go. It's nothing psychological, you know, that I don't like my dad and I think he's a pisshead. No, that's not it. Beer, toilet. And here's what I mean about wisdom. This toilet seat is soft. Somebody wasn't just smart. The smart guy invented the toilet seat. The wise man invented the soft one. You can sit on that for 2-3 days and not get an aneurysm in your ass. And that's what I mean about wisdom. There's smart and there's wisdom. In fact, it's probably why I do all my thinking, my good thinking, on that soft seat. Thanks for being here, clickers. See you next time on Silly Stuff and Sad Stories. Welcome back to the Green Room. I'm Jim Wiggins, and I've got some more green stuff to show you today. I don't know if you can get a good picture of this, camera guy, but we have an odd assortment of things that are quite brilliant. This, a pizza cutter. Now notice somebody said, we've got to make that in green. Goes into the green room. This, we haven't quite figured out. Can you get a good shot of that, Mr. Camera Guy? This instrument here looks like a IUD, but it's not. It's a thing that you put around a stalk of corn, and you press down on it, and these little serrated edges cut the corn off. Is that brilliant? That's brilliant. This, green, of course. Found this in a thrift shop, I think in Iowa. Just to make orange juice with. But it's green. I don't know where people get the idea for that. Potato peeler. Green. I'm telling you, we're onto something here, my friends. Even in the old days, found this in some place in Utah. This is, of course, an egg beater. Green, attractive, it works. You turn that, and it beats up your eggs. But then someone came along, obviously a pot smoker, and said, you know, beating eggs should be a lot more fun. So he came up with this. Here's how it works. Can you catch this, Dave? You see that? You can actually beat eggs to the rhythm of any song imaginable except rock, rap. Rap, that doesn't work too well. Here's another item. Green. Somebody said, you know what we need is this. It has to be in green. Oh, my God. This is the one that I find most brilliant and so simple. Catch that? That's a lettuce knife. Somebody had the smarts to say, you know, I can't cut lettuce with any other knife but a special-made lettuce knife, and I'm going to make it in green. But here's the brilliant part. Look what it says right on there. Lettuce knife. So if you're really buzzed and you go to the drawer to get a knife to cut lettuce with, because that happens a lot at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning when it's dark, you can find that thing. I'll bet that even glows in the dark. Lettuce. See, that's what I'm talking about. A little bit of simplicity. All wisdom, all smart things, all things that we need in this day and age. A lettuce knife. Everybody's getting smarter nowadays, and I think it's because of the computers. As you folks know, I don't really own a computer, although, listen to this. This old man's got a website, www.com/lasthippie.com. thing. There's a website there. You can go there. I play with that, and my buddy Dave helps me out with that. But it's an absolutely wonderful piece of machinery. I don't think I'm going to get one, but I certainly would like to use one. Maybe a laptop, or maybe a lay-down one, so I can lay on my belly and just work my computer and get email. Everybody's telling me now that I'm onto the website that I need a portable phone, and you people know me, man. I don't have a portable phone. I don't think there's anybody in this country who has to get a hold of me that immediately. You know, like, call Wiggins, we're out of pennies, you know. I mean, what the hell are they going to call me for? So I don't need a phone. And I think if you do have a phone, a portable phone, you should actually carry your own phone booth. Now they're talking about, it was just on the news this past couple of weeks, that the cell phone, there's something inside that cell phone that goes into your brain. It actually, it could be killing you is what it is. And when you think about all those little parts in the phone, they can give you information. They can give you a phone number. They can check your email, your stocks, your bonds, the weather. It's just way too much information. Give me some of that simple stuff, you know. An egg beater, a lettuce knife. You people have got to learn to calm down. Everybody's worried about having more information and more information and more information and more information and more information. We don't need that much information. It's all a game. All that information is simply beating up your eggs. Jim Wiggins here at the Green Room with another section of silly stuff and sad stories that probably makes no sense. But that's why I'm here. Talk to you later. Click on. Dinner's done. Look at that. We got us some green crab. Now that's brilliant. Catch you later. How we doing, clickers? I'm in the green room, kicking back, taking some notes, trying to make something out of whole cloth, I guess, is the saying. I was thinking, everything is pretty expensive nowadays, and I'm not quite sure if I understand how money works. I know I get money from my shows, my gigs, from agencies and corporations, and then I go to a bank and they do something with it, and then I give some to my kids and some to my lady and some to my grandkids and my grocer and my landlord and my phone company and my gas station and well, if there's ever any left over, I get to keep it. And so I gather I'm not much of a money man, but I am a carrier. You see. And there, I read something in USA Today not too long ago where there are now 1 millionaire in every 14 people. That's an amazing statistic. There's a bunch of billionaires, too. I guess there's like 1 in every 85 people is a billionaire or something like that. And I would guess that a lot of the money is made in real estate and stocks because everything is going up. Gasoline stocks now. If you're looking to buy a stock that you can actually make some money with, I would guess it would be a gasoline stock. I'm old enough to remember the price of gas right now in the Chicagoland area is approaching $2, if not a little over in certain parts of the Northwest Side specifically. But I can remember back, and I lived on the Northwest Side of Chicago, I can remember back when gas was 22, 23, 24 cents a gallon. That's an amazing price for gas. Even back then, it was just cheap. And the gas stations back then were different. There was actually a guy working there who did things like change a tire and put oil in your car. And he always came out of the gas station in a hurry because he was in a hurry to get back to working. When he would fill up the gas in your car, he would actually open the little door and take out the pump, and put gas in your car. You didn't have to get out of your car. He had this greasy rag that he used to check the oil. He checked your oil. Oh, and then he'd use the greasy rag to wipe off your window, but you didn't mind because he checked the rubber on your windshield wiper at the same time. They were nice. They knew us. They knew my name. I miss that. I miss that in this America, that somebody doesn't know my name especially when I do all the work. When my lady and I get gas now, we check into the gas station, what kind of price they're going to get for the gas. I put the gas in the car. She checks the oil because that's my kind of woman. You go into the store, there's everything in there. There's soda and pop and maybe oil, but you can't get a tire. You can't get any parts on your car. You can't get anything. It's just making some money off of the gas prices, the convenience of their store. And that's what they all are, is convenience stores with gas. They have pretty bathrooms. That's always nice. Stores, they're not gas stations anymore. They're stores, and they're franchises. You can go to the same place all over the country for any kind of a franchise, and every franchise seems to be run by the same kind of a company. It's all about logos. I know that when I was a kid, we had to count numbers. We had to experience mathematics. And then there was a generation of kids, probably some of you looking in on me, that learned numbers from the McDonald's sign. 1 billion, 1,000,000,005. I don't know, I think it's time we all went back to school. I'd go back to school. But you know what? I'm afraid of getting shot. Thanks for tuning in again, man. See you clickers next time. Jim Wiggins from the Green Room. You ought to see, and this is also for the people in the editing room back at the big studio. This is a little piece of philosophy about the Green Room. It was written by a good buddy of mine. In fact, you're going to see him on our upcoming special, Conversations from the Green Room. Jimmy's a comedian extraordinaire and a good buddy. But he stayed here at the Green Room one time and hid out, and here's what he left as some sort of a legacy. The Green Room, the name's not important. It's irrelevant. Irrelevant. Well, you know, I can't read too well. The energy that flows cannot be directed, just enjoyed. Emotions come and go, surrender to them. Only then will you be truly free. Memories that you make will be valuable as time goes on. They'll become a balance and cannot be taken away. No deadlines, no pressures. The only pressure there is the pressure you put on yourself. So let it go. Think green. You yourself will emerge. And you don't think of yourself. Everyone, everything is a touch of a green room. A place that asks nothing of you but welcomes you. Some things are not seen but known. I can't read that next one.
Jimmy, read this.
Yeah. The air moves and shifts across the room. But across the room, not seen, but it exists. Okay. Is it important? It doesn't matter. As I enjoy this presence, I also enjoy life. Everything is connected when you become aware you have just awakened. I will be back to the Green Room because I never left. But if you need a time frame, until next time, Jimmy Bartek. Man, I wish I would have read that better, but you know what I mean. See you next time, clickers. Stay alive. And you're not leaving.